This is a clip from a recent Pops live stream or video. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the next one.
The last topic isn't really up your alley, but I wanted to kind of get it off my to-do list, and I kind of wanted to get your take on some stuff because I think
that's fine.
what we're seeing is it's indicative of a problem in sort of everything that's collectible. And I think that whether like it or not, sports cards has always been one of the big drivers because it's the biggest moneymaker, especially baseball cards.
Yeah.
Basketball cards have finally caught up, but it's by far this big revenue generator. Non-sports cards, comic books, Funkos, toys. Legos would be the only thing, but it's sort of a weird outlier. Legos sort of have like a legacy that will just live on forever. They always find ways to win over every kid's group. So they just live on forever. I don't think Legos has any. They won your generation's kids over. So like my grandkids are all about Legos, all of them.
Yes, they are.
So there's no hope of Legos dying. So they're kind of an anomaly to this. And they also can cheat because they can adapt to any popular thing to get them hooked. So,
exactly.
But other stuff follows sports cards. And the one thing I was telling Tay about was this happened at the biggest event, the biggest national card show recently, but it's happened at a few other events where they have people, and they've always done this. I tried to explain it to her briefly before the show. We talked about it. And folks, if you've seen this in stores, my whole life, we've had this. You'll go in and there'll be like a pack of cards and it's in a package, but it's not the sealed wax or foil package. It's like, it'll say like 30 Pokemon cards, one hollow, whatever. And it's just like loose cards in a little plastic thing on a card like that. It'll be like, they're cheap. And you'll see all that. You'll see comic books repacked. You'll see like, 10 collector comic books for $10. And you can see there's just random comic books in there. Those are called repacks. And it's a way of the dealers getting rid of some of their loose stuff. It's always been a thing. Usually it involves some sort of third-party group. It's not like a store or a big corporation. It's just like I don't want to say like a knockoff corporation, but let's just face it, it kind of is. And there was really no gems in there. This wasn't like you were going to go buy Ollie's and get a $10 pack and you were going to end up with some crazy expensive Now, there are sometimes decent comic books, but they're usually damaged. That's what I find. I find the ones that are decent, they're damaged. They have issues with them. Same thing with those cards. It's them getting rid of 30 regular Pokemon cards. Even if they give you one decent one, then you'll buy another one, right? Imagine that on like high-end expensive cards. So they do these things called breaks for people now will break open these repacks. And they purposely are putting in, I'm talking hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. So the newest one right now, because we're headed into football season, is ramping up at this as we speak. There are 30 teams. So imagine if couple $100 per team, it's like, thousands of dollars. And they give out 10,000. So they're making 10,000, 20,000, 30, and then they're buying back the card. If you didn't like the card that you won, they'll buy them back at 80 to 90%. And I'm like, it's this constant FOMO lottery ticket game that's being played in all this market. Yeah. And it's conditioned the kids. And this is what came out of the national. I saw some YouTube videos on this, and I definitely see it with comic books. It's only about getting the cool thing. It's only about getting the cool thing. I don't know where the collectors are. Do we have collectors? Do we have someone who goes, oh, I got this one. It's going in a binder. I'm going to put this in the binder. I'm going to keep it for 20 years. I'm going to enjoy looking at this, or I'm going to put together a set. Yeah. I actually just saw a video where people were talking about no one's making sets of cards anymore. So if you look back at really old cards that are way older than us, Taylor, imagine 1950s, 60s baseball cards. There are regular players that I've never heard of that are worth tons of money because you can't get them. They're just that rare to make a set. You can't make a set without that card, right?
That makes sense.
If no one's making sets, do those stay worth anything? Because I don't think so. Well, guess what? Comic books are talking about doing repacks too. You know what I mean? Spend $100 on this repack, and then you're guaranteed to get $25 or $30, but then out of X many, there'll be a $500 one. It's like a lottery ticket. So it's going to create that same type of thing. Do you have any circles or friends or anybody that's in any of these sort of collector circles, or any feedback that you've seen or any thoughts you have on any of this kind of stuff?
I do actually. We actually have two friends. One who's very similar to you, where he's impacted with the card side of things. He does more for the competition cards. So, from the Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering side of
Mhm.
things, where
Yep.
he will collect his set like you do with your comics, and that he uses for his competitions and his play, but then he also is doing the repacks and all that kind of stuff to make sure that he's keeping track of inventory, and then he sells things. Yeah, so he kind of does both sides of it. And he is also we actually had dinner with him the other night, and he was talking about how he's seen an extreme impact on his card store because of the same situation. He is trying to get stock or inventory and isn't able to get what that same impact because there's too many people out here wanting to get that experience of I just want that one thing, but I'm going to buy 50 of them until I get it.
Hmm.
Instead of, oh no, I'm looking specifically for this set. Can you help me find it and finish it?
Yep.
So it's very hard for him to have that same kind of impact that he had before. And in a whole different sense, and I didn't actually know this till I talked to him, he said that a lot of competitions for cards were impacted tremendously through COVID because they weren't doing the in-person competitions anymore. They were trying to do them remote somehow. And they've come up with so many systems that are virtual to where people don't even use physical cards. They're
Yep.
using virtual cards. And so it's impacting these people that are having all these card shops or trying to make these sales, and now they have a whole bunch of stuff that's not even worth anything anymore,
No
even though
one's. It's not moving.
5 years ago,
Yeah.
yeah, even though 5 years ago it may have been drastically different, it's not that same anymore. And I know from like the comic book side, we have a lot of local shops and stuff that still do comics, but it's not nearly as big as it used to be. A lot of stuff is gravitating more, like these shops are gravitating more towards like the role playing games and the things that we're seeing that are booming right now in comparison to the cards and the comics that they used to be. And I think that that's an interesting thing to kind of see how it's changing over time. Whenever I walk into the same stores, I can kind of see based off their inventory how they're appealing to the current market. And that's interesting to see.
Yeah, because all these, and I mentioned the repack side, but obviously the other part are just called card breaks, where you just open a box of cards, and people will do
Yeah.
that. They'll sell the
Whatever
card packs,
happens.
and I
Yeah.
actually thought about doing that because I have a set of like these 4 boxes I may pool together. I thought about doing it on Whatnot because I could sell the packs, but I think it's such a low dollar thing, no one's going to want them. So I may just do it just for fun on
Possibly.
YouTube and give the cards away or something like that. But they're driving up the price online, not in person. So
Mhm.
your card shop now, who used to be able to get, let's say, 10 boxes, can afford to get 1 box. They can't get. So
Yeah.
it's messing up the entire market. Everything is changing. You mentioned the virtual thing. Also imagine, because eBay has now done this as well, but several outlets have done this. eBay's a little later to the game, but they have a vault. So if you buy a card of a certain value, so I
Mhm.
have like here, so this is not one that is, but this is an example, right? So this is a professionally graded basketball player of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But if
Okay.
this was like a PSA 9 or a 10, it's a higher grade, it would be worth, let's say, $5,000. So I don't have to have it shipped. They can just keep it in their vault, and then I can list it on eBay whenever I want. They'll just hold it for me, basically. So people are doing
Hmm.
that because it's fast. You don't have to deal with the post office, the risk of the insurance and the
Fast
price, and
turnaround.
it's a faster
Yeah.
turnaround to sell. They can just hold it. I just wait,
Yeah.
and I could literally be on my phone and go, okay, list it, bam, like that. You know what I mean? So Cream's not a good example, but imagine active players, active games that are
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
football season's ready to start on Thursday. So imagine having these cards like in the wings. They're waiting, right? And they can pop them out there faster, adjust their prices faster than people at
Yeah.
home who have to rush to their computers to buy or sell or whatever, let alone a shop
Go to the post
who has,
office. Yep. Yeah.
yeah, the shop can't even compete with any of that. So,
Yeah.
and I say all that because I do think um, we're seeing this with kind of everything. I think everything is in sort of flux. The economy, I think, has I want to say I'm not going to say it's better. I'm going to say I feel like it's more stable than maybe 2 years ago. I feel people are using their money strategically, but the
Yeah.
online part of it makes so much of it cheap, or I got to be honest, outright garbage. Like you'll see all
Mhm.
these people on Facebook and they'll have thousands and thousands and thousands of cards, or they'll have boxes and boxes of comics. You can't you can't even give them away hardly. You know what I mean? You feel like, so I'm going to do some shows over the next few months and I'm going to put like 25 cents on this bin of cards I have. I have like probably like this thing of like 5,000 cards. None of
Yeah.
your kids and none of my other grandkids are into cards. So what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
If there's no one ever buying, there's no one
It's a lot.
collecting.
Yeah.
What
It
happens
doesn't
to
even
these things?
happen anymore. And I think it's really tough too because nowadays it's a matter of like where do you put things like that. I think that's why collections have started
Yeah,
to go down so much is that people don't collect because they don't know where to put them and that's not the popular thing to do anymore. Like it's not a big
hmm
thing for people to have a I think the only equivalent for at least my generation is books. People still have libraries of books in their house. It's still a thing that's still present currently, but I feel like other than that, I don't see much else anymore. I don't.
I think you run in book circles. I don't think books are a thing. I think that you're just in book circles. I think most people are
I might
phasing out
be,
of
but
books too.
I mean,
And
I
physical
still.
movies. I can't move
Oh yeah.
physical movies
Oh, that's a big thing.
are physical
Yeah, that
movies
for
and
sure.
books. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and space is an issue. I get it in a lot of ways. But I do feel like there's going to be, mark my words, when my beautiful daughter is my age, she'll have these stories like, you don't understand how many cards your pops had. You don't understand
Right.
how many comics he had. You just
Already
don't.
did. They know.
You,
They
you
already know the
yeah, they
stories. And
don't.
then
Yeah.
I actually they you gave me my your Harry Potter card set and I still have the book of all the Harry Potter cards.
Mm.
And Caleb and I were talking about Harry Potter, so I was kind of like showcasing some of the cards to him. And he was like, "This is a really big book." And I was like, "This is nothing compared to the amount of cards your pops has." It's
Well, that was
this
just
is one
one.
book.
I think that's probably like
This
one
is
or two sets. It's not even like
yes.
I'm assuming there's a set of Harry Potter cards for every single movie. I didn't have every
Oh,
single movie.
probably more
Yeah.
so. But
Yeah.
I just think it
So,
was funny that
yeah.
he was just like, "Wow, this is impressive." I was like, "No, it's not."
Yeah.
It's like,
There's there's more cards in that room right there than
right,
he's
exactly.
ever. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know what the future holds with all of this. Obviously, I'm just now considering getting into Whatnot myself to kind of speed up moving some things through. I joked, I said, if
Yeah,
I could sell these 100 things and make this amount of money to buy this one thing, it's kind of what I'd prefer to do. That's where I'm at. But I
yeah,
also
that's
know
fair.
that by doing that, I'm also saying this many things are now worth next to zero or zero. And I can't imagine
Yeah,
being a card shop owner like you were talking about your friends and the friends of friends who own stores. I can't imagine having that kind of rent, that kind of overhead with doing this. The
exactly.
margins are too small anyway, but I don't know what you do with all this extra stuff that no one's wanting. It's tricky. So
Yeah,
interesting.
it's definitely different. And I don't, it's definitely, I'm seeing a little bit of a difference in certain shops, where they're like compensating, like I said, where they're doing other things, but they're also doing a lot of compensating by doing events. Is
hmm
something that we're seeing that's popping up with a lot of these places. The shops are holding tournaments. They're allowing people to come and play the role playing games and they're providing the pieces. Like it's different than just you walk in, you buy a comic book, you leave, and that's all that they do. It's not just a designated comic book shop. It's a little bit, it encompasses a lot more to it. Um, and that way, I think that they're making the most out of the space that they have. So I definitely give them props for being able to come up with that, be as creative as possible to keep their business going. But you can see the impact that it has based off the inventory and how it's just changed since the business opened. Like their collection and the things that they offer are not there anymore. And I know that we briefly touched on how I felt that a huge part of it, as well as why a lot of these shops don't have inventory or it's just not as popular as it used to be, is because these conventions is where the collectors go. They don't go to shops as much anymore, or they want to physically go look through the books check the grade, make sure physically in person that it's, and the best way to do that is seeing other collectors when you go to these conventions. And that's the popularity of those conventions has definitely gone up. So.
And there's a lot of deals to be had at those conventions. And
Yes.
I'll be honest, it is kind of full circle. Because when I was in college, trying to think if any of them were comic book stores only. I think New England Comics had one over on the west side of Tampa, off Del Mabry, and it was a comic book store. I don't know what else they had, but Merlin's was a bookstore first, but it had all the TCG, it had models, it had games, it had videos, it was everything. It was crazy.
Like a Barnes and Noble, yeah.
It was on scale. It was what it also felt
Yeah.
more. This is way before we had like nice lighting and clean floors like a Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, yeah, I know, yeah.
Green Shift was a comic book and a music store. They made all their money on music
That
instruments.
was popular too.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
big one. So most, and now I think there are some comic book store onlys, but going back to that where they're adding toys back in and other stuff like that, I think I never had a problem with that. People that are purists on that, I definitely don't want to see that because I don't want to see. I never did that. I always did cards and comics. If you are catching this as a clip, make sure you check out the link in the description there to watch the whole Popscast.